if you want to forecast the future, yeah, which is true. I mean, forecasting is difficult. Forecasting is very difficult. Maybe so we need to therefore these are the kind of questions that we have to ask. But as of now, let's not get into this complication. Let's only try to understand the distribution of beta, right? Because the same logic works if you are looking at a cross section, for example. So instead of a time series data, suppose you have cross section. I am looking at a number of individuals at the same point of time, and I am trying to get data on expenditure by these individuals and their incomes, right? So I have a cross section, and then I am trying to find the value of beta. And then the idea is that if I take another cross section, the underlying distribution of beta will not change so much. Those will be a very similar kind of people, right? Sure? Okay. So now, this is beta. So beta is a random variable. Let's try to find out then. First, I am going to make another assumption, okay, which is another complicated assumption, which they often introduce to you without telling you that it's that assumption. But what I'm going to say is, think of yi. So yi is equal to alpha plus beta xi plus ei. I'm going to assume that xi is constant from sample to sample and only yi changes. What do I mean by that? Suppose I ask each of you, how long did it take you today to reach the campus from where you live? So all of you give me some answer. Somebody say 1 hour, somebody will say 1 hour 15 minutes, somebody will say 10 minutes, right? Somebody will say 15 minutes, somebody will say 22 minutes. I get different answers. As xi, I ask you, how far away from the campus do you live? You will tell me 5 kilometers, 1 kilometer, 3 kilometers, half a kilometer, 300 meters, and so on. So I have some data on yi, some data on xi. Now if I come to you again the next day and I ask you, how much time did it take you to come to the campus today? Your answer will be different from yesterday's. So all the yi's will change, but your xi's will be the same. How far away do you live from home? That will remain the same, nearly for everybody, unless you've shifted somewhere, right? But we'll rule out those kinds of characters, right? So xi will remain fixed from sample to sample, yi will change, okay? Yi will change, okay? Right. But there could be a different sampling. For example, I could ask another group of students tomorrow, how long does it take you to come to the campus? And how long does it take you to... So I could just choose, currently I have some 100 students here, I could choose some other 100 students at random and do this. In which case, yi and xi will both change, which is the genuine random sampling here. Here I am only asking the same set of students, what is xi and what is yi. Xi will remain fixed, yi will change from sample to sample. At the moment, we'll start with that basic sampling thing, right? In which case, remember that yi then is what? Alpha plus beta xi, which is a constant, plus ei. Ei is a random variable. So ei has a probability distribution. So yi will also have a probability distribution, because yi is a probability distribution plus a constant. So what will be important for the distribution of yi? The distribution of ei. Now I will assume that the ei distribution is normal. Actually it's not really an assumption, I will prove to you later on. The distribution of ei is a normal distribution. Right? What do you mean by the normal distribution? Normal bell-shaped distribution. But let me tell you a little bit more about this. Any probability distribution requires 4 things to describe that probability distribution. The mean of the probability distribution, the variance of the distribution, then what we call the skewness of the distribution, yeah, where the values of the probability distribution are typically on one side of the mean or the other side, or they're symmetric. right? If they're symmetric, the skewness is 0. If they're on one side, then the distribution is either positively skewed or negatively skewed. And finally, the kurtosis of the distribution. So how peaked the distribution is. So you require 4 things to describe any probability distribution. It's mean, variance, skewness and kurtosis. The normal distribution is an example of what is called a 2-parameter family of distributions. 2-parameter family of distributions. Why is it called a 2-parameter family of distributions? Because we know that the normal distribution is symmetric distribution. Values are arranged equally on both sides of the mean, so its skewness is 0. So when I say something is normally distributed, I don't have to bother about the skewness. I also know that the excess kurtosis for the normal distribution is fixed at 3. So if you take 2 normal distributions, both of them will have the same kurtosis and the same skewness. So what will vary for the 2 normal distributions? The mean and the variance. So to describe a normal distribution fully, you need to know what its mean and what is its variance. There are some distributions which are just 1-parameter family of distributions. Can you tell me what's a 1-parameter family of distributions? So the Poisson distribution. Its mean is lambda for a Poisson distribution. The mean and the variance are the same. So you just need to know one quantity called lambda to describe a Poisson distribution. So Poisson distribution is a 1-parameter family of distributions. Whereas a normal distribution is a 2-parameter family of distributions. Right? The mean and the variance. Right? Otherwise, so what we have is a normal distribution then. So there is already a picture. A normal bell-shaped curve like this, 0 skewness, kurtosis 1, kurtosis 3. Okay, the mean we'll call mu, and the variance we'll call sigma square. So 2 normal distributions can differ because they have different means and different variances. Okay, mu and sigma square. Okay. So at the moment, forget about this. I'm going to talk to you about hypothesis tests, as I said I would. Right? So think of a normally distributed random. So we write it like this. When I say x is a random variable which has a normal distribution between mu and sigma square, there's only 2 quantities required to explain to describe x. I tell you what is its mean and what is its variance. Right? So it's normal distribution mean mu and variance sigma square. Okay. Now this actually is a very useful idea. Okay. Now let me go back to my favorite example. Okay. When I was small, I wanted to become a biologist, but I could never become one because where I stayed, the college didn't have biology, so my parents put me to study economics. Right. So I keep on thinking of these examples from wildlife and forests, etc., to do these to tell you about hypothesis tests. Okay. So this completely hypothetical example. Suppose you are in Uttarakhand. Okay, Uttaranchal is it has a forest and it has some elephants in that forest. Right, it is a large national park, right, and there are elephants in that park. Now, there is a highway which cuts across this park. And when you have a highway cutting through for parks, what happens is animals can't cross over from one part of the forest to another part of the forest. So therefore their feeding grounds suffer and their water, they don't have access to food and water, etc. So the government of Uttarakhand is genuinely worried that the elephants in that park, okay, have become too thin because they can't have access, they don't have access to water. Right? Okay. Now what do I mean by, so you are hired by the Uttarakhand government to identify elephants who are too thin and then send them to a place in Dehradun where they are fed nice healthy stuff and then fattened and sent back to the forest. Suppose that's your job. Okay? Right. Now, suppose the government is good enough to tell you that look here, we know something about the population of healthy elephants. The weight of a healthy elephant is a random variable. Why is it a random variable? Because if you catch a healthy elephant, not all healthy elephants weigh exactly the same amount. Some healthy elephants will weigh more, some healthy elephants will weigh less, and so on and so forth, right? But you are told therefore that the weight of a healthy elephant, call it X, is a normally distributed random variable, okay, right? With average weight equal to 6 tons, right? And say variance of 2 tons. Okay? The variance of 2 tons. Okay. Right. So what do you then do? So you conclude, right? So basically you have the normal distribution. This is the weight, 6 tons. Right, and this is the distribution. You find the point alpha. So only about 5% of the distribution is less than alpha. You find the point alpha, so that 95% of this curve is to the left of alpha. Right, 95% of the curve is to the left of alpha. Alpha is some number. What does that number depend upon? That number will depend upon what is mu. If mu had been this, then this would have been like this, so this alpha would have been come somewhere here. And what is the variance? Right? Because had this curve had a smaller variance, then this would have been something like this, right? Okay, then alpha would have been somewhere here, because you want a line which will contain 5% of this picture. Right? So alpha depends upon what is mu and what is sigma square. This is clear, because the shape is like this, and you want a part of that shape. You want to find so basically think of this curve. Okay, this is mu, this sigma square, and you want to cut that curve at a point such that one part contains 95% of the curve, the second part contains 5% of the curve. Suppose that point is some alpha. Now this point would depend upon the mean of the curve, the shape of the curve. This part would depend upon the shape of the curve. And what does the shape of the curve depend upon? The mean and the variance. So for curves with different means and variances, there will be different alpha. Is this absolutely clear? Right? Obviously, if you had a cake and if you wanted to cut that cake into 2 parts, eat 95% of the cake yourself and give 5% of your cake to the best friend, where you actually cut the cake would depend upon the shape of the cake. Right? A star-shaped cake will not cut at the same point, we will cut a round cake. Right? So obviously, that point alpha depends upon the shape of the curve, and the shape of the curve, because it's a 2-parameter family of distributions, depends upon what? Mean and the variances. So the forest department also gives you alpha. So it gives you that point, so you have the distribution of elephant weights. What would alpha be then? What would be on the x-axis? For the weights, for the distribution of elephant weights, what will be on the x-axis? The weights of the elephants. The weights of the elephants, 4 tons, 5 tons, 6 tons, 7 tons, 8 tons will be on the x-axis. And what would be on the y-axis? The probability that an elephant, a randomly picked healthy elephant, has weight equal to 4 tons, 5 tons, 6 tons, 7 tons. Right? Okay. So if it gives you alpha, it tells you, suppose this number is say 3. It tells you that 95% of the healthy elephants have weight more than 3 tons. 5% of the healthy elephants will have weights less than 3 tons. Right? So this forest department is giving you this number as well. In fact, it's easy to find that number once they tell you what is mu and sigma square. You get the variance, the shape of the distribution. Then it's very easy to find out that point by some kind of a simple mathematical exercise. Okay. Now once you have been told alpha, what you do is, your job is to go to the forest and trap elephants. So you dig trenches, elephants fall into those trenches, you pick those elephants out, weigh those elephants in. Right? The moment the weighing machine says this elephant weighs more than 3 tons, you release the elephant. If the weighing machine says the elephant weighs less than 3 tons, say 2.5 tons, you are in a dilemma. What is the dilemma? The dilemma says I have an elephant here who weighs less than 3 tons. The point is the elephant a healthy elephant or an unhealthy elephant? Why is there a dilemma? Because I know that if this elephant comes from the population of healthy elephants, there is a 5% chance that I find a healthy elephant who weighs less than 3 tons. The other alternative, of course, is that this elephant doesn't come from the population of healthy elephants. So if you say that, elephants are very precious to me, right? Even if this elephant is one of those 5% elephants who could be healthy, I am willing to take the chance and send this elephant to a health camp because I don't want to take a risk. Right? Okay? You will be using a 5. So what you're really doing is, you're starting with a null hypothesis that the elephant comes from a healthy population and then rejecting the null hypothesis at 5% levels of significance. What you're doing is, you're setting up a null hypothesis that this elephant comes from a healthy population and then rejecting the null hypothesis with a 5% level of significance. Is this clear? Obviously, why 5% level of significance? Because here, there is a 5% chance that you are actually sending the elephant wrongly to the health camp. Because 5% of healthy elephants, right? So, you can actually wrongly reject the null hypothesis, which is called type 1 error. Type 1 error is when you send healthy elephants to health camps. What will be type 2 error? When you release unhealthy elephants, when you fail to reject the null. Yeah? When you fail to reject the null, when the null is not true, you are making a type 2 error. Whereas if you reject the null, even when the null is true, you are making a type 1 error. Is this clear? So when you use that alpha quantity at 5% level, you have already pre-made that decision that I am willing to take a 5% risk of sending healthy elephants to camps because elephants are very important for me. Right? Even if some healthy elephants go to camps, I am fine with them but I don't want to lose out on unhealthy elephants. I don't want to release unhealthy elephants back into the forest. Right? Suppose these unhealthy elephants are elephants who are infected with some contagious diseases. Then you will be happy with sending many healthy elephants to the camp because there is no loss really. All you have to do is to pay for their upkeep. But if you keep an unhealthy elephant back into the population, then you might lose lots more elephants. So you might actually want to choose a level of significance high enough. You might even want to choose a 10% level of significance. You might say 10% of the time I am fine. Right? Okay? Fine. So I might actually, so that's it, right? Is this clear? Sure. Now, you are doing this exercise. You are walking through the forest and you find a friend of yours, a classmate of yours, who is also walking in the forest. But you have this huge weighing machine trailing behind you on the jeep, where this man is happily sauntering around with a small net and a bottle with some liquid. So you ask him, what are you doing here? Then he said, no, you see this whole forest is a teak forest, no? And then this forest needs teaks, the teak trees will flower just before the summer. And when they flower just before the summer, there are insects, there are butterflies which pollinate those flowers. So that's how teak forests generate themselves. Now the government of Uttarakhand, he says, tells you, is worried that these butterflies have got some illness and they have started to lose weight. So if these butterflies die, then there will be nobody to pollinate these forests, so the forests will die. So I have been asked to find out butterflies who are too thin. And say, what do you do when you find a butterfly? How do you do it? He said, no, I have been told that the average weight of butterflies, the weight of healthy butterflies is a normally distributed random variable, and average butterfly weighs say 0.5 grams, right? And then there is a distribution, and there is an alpha, there is a beta, right, which I have been told. So all that I do is actually with this net catch these butterflies, weigh these butterflies on this micro scale, and the butterfly weighs less than beta. Then there is this protein shake which I am carrying, which I feed to the butterfly, and then the butterfly flies off. Otherwise, if the butterfly weighs more than beta, I let the butterfly go. Okay? So you say very good, and then you proceed on your path. Right? And then you meet another person. Right? who's actually carrying a sack. He's carrying a sack. And he said, what are you doing here now? He says, no, I have been asked by the Uttarakhand government. It fears that these porcupines who live in this forest have become too thin. So my job is I put this trap and then I capture porcupines and I weigh them in this sack. And they have told me that the weight of porcupines is normally distributed with some mean and some, then they have given me a value called gamma. So if the weight of a porcupine is less than this gamma, I immediately pack him up in this cage and he goes and is fed all nutritious stuff. Otherwise I let the porcupines go. So you keep on walking around the forest, you feel lots of your friends doing various things to various animals. Right? So you see people working with squirrels, you have people working with elephants, you find people working with bears and so on and so forth. Everybody has a particular alpha, beta, gamma, theta, some number which he guards closely, which he said he should not forget because मेरा काम इसको weigh करना, इससे कम हो गया तो इसको दवाई पिलाना छोड़ देना. That's what he did. Okay. So you realize there are so many of them that you can actually make an association of yourself. Right? So you come together and found an association of people who weigh animals and find whether they are unhealthy. Right? So you give your association that big name. Right? And your association then gets an annual get together. So all of you have got together. So there are people who are working on moths, people are working on cockroaches, people are working on scorpions, all sorts of people. And you find there are lots of your friends who are there all over the world. So all of them come together. Right? And then some of them are sad. Some of them say, see, unfortunately, I have to work in Africa. So why don't you work in Africa? No, because my job is to capture, these two-horned rhinoceros and then weigh them and find out ones which are too thin and then give them this medicine, otherwise you let them off. Right? But whereas actually, my family lives in Australia and I would like to be in Australia. Right? And there is one guy who says, I've been forced to live in Australia because my job is to actually find out which of the kangaroos are too weak, too thin, so I have to catch kangaroos. I would much rather stay in Africa. So you say, why don't you two guys change your jobs? So no, but that that kangaroo gamma and that rhinoceros theta are numbers which we are not supposed to exchange with each other. So so we can't really change our jobs without knowing that number. We can't. So you sit down and so you say that you find that is a big problem, right? So you sit down and try to make a big manual where that particular beta for each animal alive in the world is given. So when that anybody who has that manual can then study any animal that he or she feels like. And when you start to do that, you find that exercise is almost an unending exercise. There are millions of insect species. There are more than 10,000 bird species itself, right? Mammals, etc. Huge reptiles, we don't really know. So that becomes an unending job for you. And you being the kind, good Samaritan, have actually agreed to create that book. So these guys from Australia and Africa keep on calling you, हो गया क्या करके? So you say, अभी नहीं हुआ. It takes 6 months, 8 months, right? People start getting at you because things are not moving. So one day you're sitting and wondering to yourself, why do different animals have to have this different alpha, beta, gamma, theta value for their probability distribution? Why can't there be just one value? Just one number. Some one particular number which is common for all animals. So the 95% of all healthy animals we weigh more than that number. 95% of all healthy animals we weigh less than that number. That number will be common whether I am studying earthworms or anacondas, whether I am studying squirrels or elephants, whether I am studying hummingbirds or say bald eagles, whether I am studying small minnows or large sharks. Do you think such a common number can exist? Do you think such a common number can exist? All weights are normally distributed. The weights of all animals are normally distributed. That's the saving grace that you have.
I mean, if we could figure out how this number is chosen in the first place, we can maybe have a common number that...
No, it's easy to find that number because you have for any particular species it's easy to find that number. You just have a number alpha that the 95% of distribution lies to the right of alpha.
So, but why that 5% would lie? Why is that 5%? Why can't it be 10%?
Anything, but we have all of us agreed to have 5%. It could be 10% as well.
It cannot be a single number because we are measuring the weight of an earthworm with the weight of an elephant, then the weight a healthy earthworm should have to weigh more than maybe 1 gram, but a healthy elephant should weigh more than maybe 100 kgs. So that need
100 kgs? No, no, no. Elephant calves weigh more than that when they're born.
My point is,
My Saint Bernard weighs that much, a healthy guy. Yeah.
any elephant, even if it's not healthy, will come under the healthy population if we include earthworm with elephant.
But sir, that's the change of scale.
Yeah, so these girls have got it right. See, what are all the distributions are normal distributions. Right? Why would they have different alpha, beta, gammas? Because they have different shapes. When can two normal distributions have different shapes? When they have different means or different variances. So if somehow, if all these normal distributions can be reconverted to have the same mean and the same variance, they have the same shape. So if they have the same shape, the point at which I separate the 5% and 95% will be the same. Right? Okay. So the next question is, how do I get two normal distributions which have different means and variances to have the same shape? Okay? To have the same shape, yeah? That's the point. That's the point. That's what we are really going to do. That's what actually a standard normal does. So think of say, so I have a distribution of elephant weights.